it's Katie Forrestal, coming back again with part 3 of chapter 2 of my book, 10 Common Sense Reasons to Reject Pornography. All of this information can be found at rejectpornography.com. The book is unfinished, but I am always open to people helping me get it finished. So, moving on to part 2, Finding Solutions, Tearing Down the Web and Clearing the Vision. Here's a quote, and I'm probably going to mispronounce some words and names here, but I'll do the best I can. Quote, prostitutes have been seen by commentators from St. Augustine to Parent du Châtelet, who was a physician and hygienist, as a seminal drain carrying away men's excess libido. So the femme galants, that's another word for loose women, the mangirdas, another word for women who eat up men's money, the female parasites, the vamps, who prey on men's capital, are a drain on the economy of saving and productive investment, end quote. While defenders of prostitution, such as philosopher Herbert Marcuse, the author of One-Dimensional Man, Studies in the Ideology of Advanced Industrial Society, portrays the prostitute in a much different light. Quote, a marginal figure who challenges the instrumental rationality of advanced industrial society, apparently by cheating its rules of investment and return, its imperatives of alienated labor, time, and sexuality. For Marcuse, the prostitute's avoidance of work, her refusal to support herself with wage salary, renders her a heroic figure with the same power of negation as the work of art has in a two-dimensional culture, end quote. So, as we can see, contrasting philosophies. What does America want, is the question. Philosophies help shape societies, and there are always opposing views. Pornography has been paving the way in America to making prostitution a norm. Is that what we really want? If so, how will it affect our country's future? Prostitution and obscenity have always been social, moral, and economic issues. The quote, the currency of monetary tropes in medical explanations of sexual psychology can be traced back at least to the 18th century, when economic arguments increasingly competed with religious morality in stigmatizing practices such as masturbation and fornication, not just as vice or sin, but as the wasted expenditure of a precious energy resource vital to the economy of both the working body and the wealth of nations. I had never really thought about this economic philosophy until I started studying pornography, but I think it's worth revisiting some of the ideas. We saw earlier how fashion played a part in Japan for young girls seeking a certain lifestyle and willing to sell their bodies for it. Remarkably, the same phenomenon was happening in Paris in the 1800s. As Parent du Châtelet explained, quote, vanity and the desire of dress, together with idleness, is a very active cause of prostitution, particularly in Paris, when the simplicity and the fortiori, the shabbiness of clothing is considered truly as a reproach. It is astonishing that so many young girls are seduced by a desire for dress which will elevate them from the position in which they are born and which permits them to mingle with that class who have looked on them with contempt. Those who know to what extent the love of dress is carried among women can easily appreciate the influence of this cause of prostitution in Paris, end quote. In the early 1900s in America, there was a fashion trend known as porno chic, or the happy hooker look, which incorporated icons from pornographic films and magazines into clothing lines. Celebrities like Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears then promoted the look in their videos and stage performances. That trend may be gone, but celebrities are dressing more and more scantily and acting more and more sexual, influencing young girls with low self-esteem who look up to them as role models. The pornographers know this, as testified in this quote by Paul Fishbein, founder of Adult Video News. Quote, lots of girls in this business, and guys too, are dysfunctional. The girls get here at 18 and aren't mature. They do it because they're rebels or exhibitionists or need money. They think they're making real movies and get really upset when they don't win awards or get good reviews. End quote. On the other side of the coin is the, quote, wasted expenditure of precious energy resource vital to the economy of both the working body and the wealth of nations. End quote. We saw earlier in Chapter 1 how workers in the SEC were wasting all of their energy watching pornography instead of protecting our economy. We also saw how adolescents gain brain performance by participating in healthy activities such as sports and music and lose it doing sedentary and compulsive activities like gaming, watching television, and pornography. We have probably all known at least one person who wasted all of his or her energy feeding some sort of addiction. We have all heard the term raging hormones and assimilated it to sexuality. We have been told that there are only two ways to deal with it, suppress it or release it. But where did those ideas come from, and are they the truth? What if we took the focus off sexuality in our country and put it on making our world a better place, fulfilling our God-given purposes and using our energy to create and innovate? What if sex became a much smaller part of the public conversation and was given a chance to be something private and unique to each individual and family? What if we cleansed our minds of all the images, distortions, and agendas and looked for something pure and natural again? Sex education in America. As I stated earlier, I believe education is one of the keys to change, and deeper conversations will help us decide first individually, then collectively, where we can find some common denominators that make sense. Let's start by looking at two diametrically opposed views on sex education. The first view comes from a very informational and well-written academic paper that explores sexuality as pedagogy from the Victorian period into the 21st century. This paragraph sums up the author's view on the direction this country should take. Quote, we need to take seriously the pedagogic function of sexual representations in the media, but rather than respond with repulsion and fear, we need to accept and even embrace media sex as an opportunity for kids to gain sexual knowledge that schools and parents rarely provide. The role of parents and educators in this sexual pedagogy should not be censors, but docents and mentors. Putting parents second and the media first. The second view is from the Holy Bible. It does not specifically mention sex, but it is general instruction for child rearing and would adopt sexuality from a biblical standpoint to be part. Quote, train up a child in the way he should go, teaching him to seek God's wisdom and will for his abilities and talents. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's Proverbs 22:6, and I think that's an amplified version. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your mind and with all your soul and with all your strength, your entire being. These words which I am commanding you today shall be written on your heart and mind. You shall teach them diligently to your children, impressing God's precepts on their minds and penetrating their hearts with his truths, and shall speak of them when you sit down in your house and when you walk on the road and when you lie down and when you get up. That's Deuteronomy 6:6-8. Whatever your faith is, it is clear to see that the latter view is about teaching through relationship and example, and is the responsibility of the parent for the sake of all generations. As a Christian, my belief is that God's word is the way, and sexuality is a sacred and protected area of life. But even for those with different beliefs, we can all agree that parents have wisdom from experience and are perfectly capable of guiding their children. That is not always the case, but for the most part, unless the parent is deranged or abusive, it seems it would be better for a parent to teach the child than the media teaching the child. In fact, allowing the media to teach the child might be called neglect. Who is the media? Do we personally know these people? We have already seen how science, which is supposed to be factual and proven, can't be totally trusted, and how pedophiles, psychopaths, and profiteers can creep into our homes and schools. So why would we trust strangers who may have an agenda to teach our children, and why would we leave them to figure it out for themselves? None of these ideas seem to make much sense. I'm going to end this one because I'm going into something a little deep, so we are going to go on to a brief history of American ideologies on sexuality next time. Thanks for listening.